Dragon Ball Sparking Zero has been on my radar all year, and I'm not too big into fighting games, but this game is a spectacle and it had so much hype behind it that I couldn't help but pick it up and try it out. It's been about 2 weeks since this game launched, and a lot of you guys are sitting here wondering why I am now putting out my opinion 2 weeks later, because it seems like, it's too late. And I want to go ahead and preface this before we get into the video. I am a normal guy. I am a normal consumer like you. I have responsibilities and everything, and I think that the internet moves too fast nowadays, and we can't really form genuine opinions on things like video games because it comes out and the day after everyone has their mind made up on it, and nobody really spends enough time to actually criticize this game and look at what it's going to be moving forward, and what it means. Like, is it actually good? Is it overhyped? Whatever. Is it overhated? And I like to spend enough time in my games to decide. So if you guys are on the fence about Sparking Zero, especially around this holiday season, look no further, because this is seriously the review to you. For you, I'm the guy. So yeah, make sure to drop a like and a subscribe, grab some popcorn or whatever, and let's go ahead and get into this analysis of Sparking Zero. So like I said before, I am not really too big on fighting games, okay? I'm not a complete noob. This isn't my first fighting game. I just don't tend to spend a lot of time in fighting games unless they're, a big release like Sparking Zero or like Smash Bros. Ultimate or something like that. And one thing I was really looking for when I was playing Sparking Zero, I was wondering, can this game cater to people who are completely new to the Dragon Ball fighting games, while also catering to the advanced players who have been playing this series for seriously like a decade. I mean, I'm pretty sure the last game they got like this was in like 2007, and there have been a ton of other Dragon Ball fighting games, so there's definitely a community there. So can Sparking Zero cater and bring on new players while also respecting the veterans? Okay, that is something I'm going to look at heavily in this video. In my opinion, that is a really important question to ask with Sparking Zero, because a lot of the fun to be had in Sparking Zero is with online play. Okay, there's obviously a ton of offline options, and we're going to get into that. I think it's great, but there is, a lot of the fun to be had in Sparking Zero is playing with your friends, playing against other people online, playing ranked, that sort of thing. And there's definitely casual options there, but online is a big chunk of this game. So it's important that they are able to bring on new players and respect the veterans. That way this can kind of have a booming community, because there's people who have just insane skill in this game, and then there's people who are also jumping onto it brand new, and you don't really want all your new players to flock away immediately, but you also, like I said before, you don't want to disrespect the veterans and stuff like that. So that's a really important question to ask with Sparking Zero. So first things first here, let's go ahead and just talk about some general things. How are the controls? How's the overall functionality of this game? The graphics, the visuals, all that. So as far as the graphics go and the performance, it is very good. It is super good. Obviously this isn't going to be like some hyper realistic experience, but the game looks good. The art style is amazing. The animations are really good, and the game just looks good. It's buttery smooth. Like, it just looks good. The gameplay you're watching right now is on PS5. I'm sure it runs great on PC, and I'm sure it runs great on next gen Xbox. I haven't really heard any complaints from anybody regarding performance, so overall it gets like an A in that department. It is really solid. Now, one thing online that I did see that was super nitpicky around the release of this game is I saw a lot of people complaining about the UI in the main menu. In particular, I'm referencing IGN's review on this game. They basically took points off of the score because the UI was weird, and I'm not gonna lie, like, the UI, it's a little weird. It's not like, it kind of feels not straightforward at times. Like, it's kind of annoying to navigate at first, but like, I'm not going to nitpick that because it's really stupid in my opinion, because it's serviceable, and I'm not paying full price for a full price game for the UI. You know what I mean? I care about gameplay. I don't really care about the UI as long as I can pick what I can play. Like, it was annoying at times, like, and it's a little weird, sure, but it's not bad at all in my opinion, and it definitely shouldn't lose points off the score. I wanted to talk about that just because I know that that was kind of a talking point when the game first came out for some reason. And look, man, if people are nitpicking the UI in the main menu, and that's all they can really say about like the performance and the graphics in that department, like, if that's all they can say, I mean, this game's great. You know what I mean? I just wanted to kind of highlight that because I know there's probably gonna be people in the comments that talk about it, you know. So overall, performance wise, graphics wise, this game just looks good. At the end of the day, it just looks really good. The art style is so good. It's actually, I love a good art style. Also, the soundtrack is banging as well. Great soundtrack. Always love that. Always get points for that. Now I want to go ahead and talk about the controls as well. So the controls here, I thought were going to be really difficult, and they were kind of complex at the start, at least for me, because this is my first Dragon Ball game, but I was able to learn really fast. I was able to get Z countering down fast, Sonic swaying, all of that, like all of the main mechanics of the game that you need to kind of master to get somewhat good. I was able to learn pretty fast. I would say in about 5 hours I had the gist of it down, and it can be a little intimidating for new players, but I think the control scheme here is pretty good for new players and for veterans as well, because you can play on the classic layout or you can play on like this new modern layout. I think it's great at both catering to the new players and, you know, respecting the veterans like we talked about before. On the new player side of things, new players are able to counter pretty easily by just mashing like square. However, that can also get you punished by a good player if you're just mashing square brainlessly. But if you're a new player and you're just trying to pick up the game, it allows you to get a really fluid feel for the game, with the control scheme and everything. But it's also not to the point where it's like brain dead easy and anybody can pick up a controller and just start pressing buttons and just totally destroy you. And honestly, this game is going to get brownie points from me because of that, because a fighting game that came out earlier this year that is so good. Okay, this is a phenomenal game. Tekken 8. Tekken 8 is really good, but dude, oh my gosh, it has such a bad accessibility issue in my opinion. Okay, like I said before, I'm not like a fighting games expert, but I'm also not a noob. I'm like somewhere in the middle. I low-key just couldn't pick up Tekken 8. I don't know if I'm just bad. It's a great game. Great game. I could not touch it, and I don't know, it kind of took away from the experience for me personally, just because I was getting completely bodied by people online. But with Sparking Zero, man, I was able to learn counters pretty easy. It's straightforward, but like I said before, it's not too brain dead easy to where any new player can just pick it up and totally cheese you. Now there is some cheese in this game, and we are for sure going to talk about that. There needs to be some balancing issues, but that's going to be later on down the line. But overall, man, I'm just glad that this game has accessible controls for people who have, you know, have never played a fighting game. Like, I'm so glad that that's the case, because it really feels like anybody can get in on the fun, and at the same time, you know, the veterans aren't losing out on their experience as well. So I think that's great. I also love all of the offline, you know, options here, man. And this is something that a lot of games are missing nowadays, especially, you know, fighting games, in my opinion. Okay, like, I know this is a bad example of a fighting game, but a game like Multiversus is essentially just all online. There's no offline play, and they definitely could have gone that route with Sparking Zero. They could have made Sparking Zero a free-to-play fighting game like Multiversus. Like, that was very much a possibility that could have happened, and I'm so glad that they didn't do that and they kind of stuck to their roots, because, you know, here we get a full fleshed out story. The story, it's not like crazy or anything. You're really just playing like events from the other games, and you get to play as like other characters. The main storyline is Goku. That's always really cool. And there's like this alternate timeline thing that you can go and do as well. That's really cool. It's all cool, and you can play other characters' storylines on like the side. That's great. You know, big plus there for a fighting game, because a lot of fighting games, in my opinion, just don't really have good campaigns, especially recently. Like Mortal Kombat 1 was kind of lame. Tekken 8 was pretty good. But Sparking Zero has a pretty serviceable one here, and it's great for offline play. You can play with your friends offline, you know, if you guys both got two controllers. That is so cool as well. I always love to see games supporting couch co-op in 2024, because couch co-op is gaming at its purest, and Sparking Zero offers that 100%. So, you know, once again, more brownie points there. I love games that support that. And, you know, there's a lot, you know, you can do offline tournaments. You know, there's a ton of training options with like the CPU and the settings and all that. It's great. It is phenomenal. The offline experience here for a fighting game is so good, and in my opinion it's up to par with the online content as well. Now, one thing I do want to mention, to my knowledge there is a bit of a catch with couch co-op. Like if you wanted to play on the same TV with your boy, with 2 controllers, classic style, whatever, you can't play on any map you want. There's only one map you can play on, which is kind of a downside, but the devs actually came out and kind of explained that when you have 2 screens on a lot of the maps, like Planet Namecave, for example, the math with like the physics and everything gets really complex. And for those of you guys who don't know, like on all of the maps there's like physics with like buildings being destroyed and you're like throwing people into the ground and creating craters. It's really, really cool. But the devs came out and said that that was really hard to kind of emulate with couch co-op. So I'm honestly going to applaud them here for including couch co-op in the game and finding a solution to include it. Okay, like it is kind of a bummer that you can't play on whatever map you want, but they very easily could have just said no to it. You know what I mean? In this day and age, so I'm glad that they are supporting it still. You know what I mean? I guess it is kind of lame you can't play on whatever map you want, but the devs actually came out and were honest about it, and I'm glad that they found a solution for it. Now moving on, let's go ahead and talk about the balancing. Okay, so balancing is a massive deal with online games and especially fighting games. Okay, so Sparking Zero has a large roster. Okay, there's like 128 and counting characters that you can play as in Sparking Zero, which is awesome. I love a wide roster of characters. However, there is a bit of balancing here, particularly in the individual matches where you're just playing as one-on-one. Okay, I like the idea of DP battles, and that's all really cool. Basically, DP battles, you can kind of draft your fighter, and each fighter has DP points depending on how strong they are. You get a limit of 15, and if you wanted to play as like Final Form Goku or something, that's like 10 points, or like Final Form Vegito is like 10 points, so you could only really have like one other decent fighter with them. Or you could have a stacked roster of like 5 people, but they're not as strong. You know what I mean? So there's like a limit there. So they did a really good job at balancing DP battles for sure. So you're not, playing against Final Form Gokus and Vegitos back to back to back. That would be really, really difficult. So they balanced the DP battles as well. But I do think the individual battles could use some touching, maybe some certain characters kind of getting debuffs in individual battles, because man, as soon as I hit B5 rank in individual, bro, I was just getting cooked by Gogetas. Okay, and Yajirobe's. They did nerf him, but there was just so much cheese. I was just getting spammed by Final Form Gokus, by Vegitos, Gogetas, like all Final Form, and I'm just trying to play as Gohan here, and that, I mean, you're literally watching in the gameplay, like you watched me just obliterate people with Gogeta. I mean, this character is insane, and there's definitely some balancing issues that still need to be worked out. At the time of this recording, this is after the Yajirobe nerf, so I'm pretty sure there's probably going to be more balancing changes coming. But at the same time, with all of the cheese and all of the overpowered characters, it kind of adds to the flair for this being a Dragon Ball game. I mean, Dragon Ball at its core is literally just overpowered people fighting each other, you know what I mean? And so it's only fitting that there's overpowered characters in Dragon Ball. Like, it kind of works with the atmosphere. But I'm not gonna lie, there were times where I was I was freaking out, dude, because I would get put in a combo, or like I would get spammed with the same move over and over, just classic fighting game stuff at the end of the day. And honestly, like it's annoying and it kind of sucks, but it kind of makes me smile a little bit, man, because that's just it's just over the top video game nonsense, and I kind of miss that from a lot of fighting games. It feels like a game will release, and on day one the devs are flying out and trying to balance things rather than focusing on content. And I'm really glad that with Sparking Zero, they're giving the players a lot of room to breathe, and they're not pushing out balancing updates and balancing updates and balancing updates and constantly changing everything, because that is honestly getting really annoying nowadays. But yeah, there is very much a meta in this game, so expect that, and there probably will always be a meta. This is an online game, and especially because this is Dragon Ball, I don't think there's a world where it can be perfectly balanced, but I do think that they balanced it really well in terms of like the DP battles. So if you want a balanced experience, in my opinion, play DP battles. I mean, there's still kinks that need to be worked out. Like I said before, Yajirobe, he was basically like this, I think like 2-power DP character, and he could just heal himself up back to full health instantly before the nerf. So it's just things like that, you know, whatever. But the devs are working on it, and overall, like, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero has a great community. At the end of the day, it's a fun time. Just know that there is a really, really big skill ceiling here. There's people who have been playing these types of games for literally like 15 years. But if you're a new player and you're going into it completely blind, don't be discouraged, because you can actually learn and you can pick up and you can get, you know, good at this game pretty fast, in my opinion. And it's easy to pick up. And it's pretty straightforward. You know, you got superpowers, just beat the crap out of the other guy, you know, and you can kind of go from there. And I kind of like how Sparking Zero spoon feeds that to the new player. I think it does a really good job at that. But yeah, that's really going to do it for the video and the review. Sparking Zero, I'm going to give Sparking Zero an 8.5 out of 10. This is a phenomenal game. And I'm not going to lie, this is probably the best fighting game of 2024. And I do think it lived up to the hype 100%. All right, 100%. This is not a letdown in any way, shape, or form. This is a great, great fighting video game. Just know what you're getting into. It's a fighting game, okay? You're probably going to get frustrated. You're probably going to get whooped online. But Sparking Zero has a learnable learning curve for a new player, and that is something I was analyzing really hard. I was hoping that it didn't have accessibility issues, and I don't think it has any accessibility issues at all. I think it's a great game. 8.5 out of 10, I think, is a really good score. Let me know what you guys think of Sparking Zero. Are you guys having a ton of fun? I think Sparking Zero will be around for a long time, and I can't wait to see this community grow and this game grow. You know, this is a great, great game, great experience. It deserves all the love and all the sales it's getting. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of Sparking Zero, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.